I honestly thought that if my head collided with that metal that I was going to die. I'm so excited to film again. I don't know why. I feel like I have been really stressed out lately because of school, and filming is like something that is so fun. So, hello guys, it's Cam. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you guys about the time that I literally broke everything in the left side of my body, okay? And if you want to find out what happened, then keep watching. Alright, so before we get started, if you haven't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification right next to it so you never miss another one of my videos. I try to post every Tuesday and Thursday, and I post natural hair commentary and lifestyle videos. Also, if you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, you can follow me on all of my social media. I'll have everything linked down below, as well as on the screen right here. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so a little bit of backstory. For those of you who don't know, which is probably a lot of you, I was a competitive gymnast for almost 10 years. I think I was in gymnastics for 9 years, I think. Doesn't matter, but whatever. Yeah, I was a competitive gymnast for like almost 10 years, right? And so my last year in gymnastics is when this story takes place. So it was the beginning of my level 9 competition season, and I was at practice. Now, I remember this specifically. This happened on a Tuesday. Yes, because I had just did a competition like the weekend before, and I had already had practice on Monday. Also, I was about to get a job working as an audio and video technician for a church, and so I had a meeting with my employers later that evening, so I knew I was gonna have to leave practice early, right? Okay, so I get to practice that day. Actually, a little bit more backstory, because the way this happened was crazy, right? Okay, so Monday, I had 2 teammates, and we were all stretching, because that's usually what we do. Before we practice, we condition and we stretch, and we all kind of like just stretch in a circle and chat amongst ourselves before we start actually doing gymnastics. So I was talking to my 2 teammates, and we were all kind of just going off about how we were feeling burnt out, and we were feeling very just like tired and overwhelmed by gymnastics, and we really kind of weren't having that great of a time anymore. Like, it just felt like a burden and like a chore to go to practice, and we just felt a lot of pressure because we were having like a lot of mental blocks and crazy stuff like that like wasn't happening before, and it was causing like our coaches to get kind of frustrated because we weren't putting in as many numbers, because like, you know, with gymnastics, all these things come up when as you get older, you realize how dangerous things are, and then just stuff starts happening, whatever. So everybody was talking about, like, we were all talking about kind of like taking a break from gymnastics, and I was sitting there stretching. I remember I was stretching my splits, guys, and I was like, Lord, if you show me a sign that I need to stop gymnastics, then I will stop gymnastics, right? Okay, so move on to Tuesday. I get to the gym and I tell my coach that I have to leave early because I have to go to a meeting, and he's like, all right, cool. So the crazy thing about this is every time we go to practice, we always either go to bars or beam first. And when I told him that I needed to leave early, he was like, all right. And then we conditioned and we stretched, and then literally, I kid you not, right before we were done stretching, he comes up to me and he was like, yeah, we're gonna go to vault first. And I don't know if you guys probably don't know, but vault was my best, most consistent event. Like, it was literally my best event. I was state champion, regional champion on that event. So vault was my best event. And so I was like, huh, that's weird. We never go to vault. Like, honestly, we would probably go to vault like 3 times a week maybe. And then we would never go to vault first. Vault would always be the last event, or like the second to last event. Like, it was never first. So he was like, yeah, we're gonna go to vault first. And I was like, all right. Like, okay, that's weird, but okay. So he was like, yeah, so once you finish stretching, go get your tiger paws, which are these like wrist guards that you use for vault and floor sometimes. And so I finish stretching, I go get my tiger paws, I put them on, I get a little bit of chalk, and I clap my hands so that I can kind of dry them out so I'm not sweating too bad, and I chalk my feet so they're not sweating, and we start warming up, you know, and he's like, all right, you do 5 and you're good to go. And so I was like, cool. And like, guys, vault is my best event. And typically, like, I'll go and I'll warm up, I'll do my runs, like my sprints, and then I'll warm up like 1 timer. And typically after warming up 1 or 2 timer vaults, I will just go ahead and flip. And so that's what I did. I did my sprints, we warmed up, I did my like 1 or 2 timers, and he was like, all right, my coach was like, all right, are you ready to flip? And I was like, yeah, whatever. Cause you know, vault is my best event. So I'm not thinking anything of it. So I flip and I'm doing all my vaults, everything is really good. And I'm getting minimal corrections. So I'm just doing my vaults to get my numbers in, right? So I kid you not, guys, I do my 5 vaults and he's like, okay, I want you to do 1 more, and this time I want you to try to open up your pike position a little bit more so we can see if we can get it stretched to a layout. And I was like, okay, cool, because I competed pike Yurchenkos. If you don't know what it is, I'll try to insert like a clip of what that vault is. But I was competing pike Yurchenkos, and if I would have competed them for my level 9 season, it would have been my 3rd year competing them. And so we were trying to get them laid out, and I was pretty much laying out mostly, but I still needed a little bit more of open hips for it to be considered a layout. So he was like, yeah, just see if you can open your hips a little bit more, and we're gonna see if we can try to work towards getting this to be a layout. And I said, all right, cool. So kid you not, guys, this was gonna be my last vault, and I was gonna get to go home, and it was 5 minutes before I was supposed to leave. So I was like, all right, bet, like this is going great. So I start running and I do my vault, like I do my vault, I do my run for my vault, I do everything when I'm vaulting the same exact way every single time. Like, I kid you not. And literally in my brain, sometimes even out loud, I will count my steps. So I prepped my vault or whatever, and I start running, and I always take 10 steps. Like, I do 10 steps before I hurdle to do the entry to my vault. And so I'm counting in my head, 2, 4, 6, 8. And like on the vault runway, it's always, you start way back on the runway, and then there's typically a line for where you're supposed to hurdle or start the takeoff for the vault. And then for like Yurchenkos, there's a hand mat that's really big, and it goes right in front of the springboard. And then right behind the hand mat is a springboard and the safety zone that goes around the springboard just in case you go crooked. So I did my 2, 4, 6, 8 hurdle, and then I notice that I'm really far away from the hurdle line for some reason. And I'm like, well, since I'm super far away from the hurdle line and I'm like running full sprint, I'm just gonna run off to the side instead, because that's typically what I do. Like, if I have a stutter or if I mess up a little bit or if I'm off, I'll just run to the side, because if like that were to happen in a competition, you would just run off to the side, because if you touch the springboard, then it'll count and you will get a score of 0. So I was like, let me just run off to the side, it's fine. Guys, I kid you not. I kid you not. I was mid-air about to start the entry when I decided I was gonna run off to the side. And I put my right foot down, because that's the foot that I do gymnastics with. I put my right foot down to begin running off to the side, and I must have been running too fast or something. I have no idea. And looking back on this, I wish I would have had a video of this. Not only would it have been crazy, but it would have been hilarious. But anyway, I put my right foot down, and I kid you not, I turn into a freaking snowball on a cliff. My foot goes down. I'm gonna see if I can show it on camera. Okay, so basically, I'm gonna show you on this hand. So this is like the hurdle position. So this is like the hurdle position. It's like one knee is bent and one leg is straight back. And so I was in the middle of the hurdle, and I was just gonna try to run off to the side. But I kid you not, my right foot goes down, and it catches underneath my body, and I just like, I don't remember if I like rolled or if I dove or if I slid. I literally don't remember. But my foot caught under my body. All I knew was that I was going head first into the metal underneath the vaulting table. And I was terrified because, like, I'm gonna see if I can insert a picture, but like the metal underneath the vault table is meant to keep the vault standing upright. Like, it's meant to withstand any amount of force so that it will stay upright. People literally have to do gymnastics on it, like flip off of it, flip onto it. So my head was about to meet the metal underneath the vault table, and I panicked. So I threw my hands over my face or over my head because I knew, like, guys, I honestly thought that if my head collided with that metal that I was going to die. Like, that is literally, and all of this probably happened in like less than 2 or 3 seconds, but I threw my hands up and I just remember going BAM! And colliding with the metal underneath the vault table. And guys, I kid you not, I literally, my vision went white and then it went black and then it went white again, and I opened my eyes and I was like in a in like a fetal position. I was crumbled up with my hands like over my head on top of the springboard, and my coach and one of my teammates was standing over me. And guys, I thought I was gonna like pass out. I thought I was about to get knocked out. It was literally the scariest thing ever. And I've done some sketchy things in the gym, but this literally takes the cake of being the most traumatic thing to ever happen to me at the gym. And my coach was standing over me and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Did you hit your head?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Did you hit your neck?" And I said, "I don't know." Literally, the freaking vault knocked the sense out of me. Like, it knocked me out of my, it knocked my soul out of my body. Okay? And so I was laying there in a heap and he was asking me all these questions and I was like, "Bro, this vault table just mollywopped me. Like, please stop talking." And so he asked me one other question, but I can't remember right now, but the answer to that question was no. And then he helped me stand up. And the first thing that I noticed was my shoulder, my left shoulder. And I like got up and like I tried to raise my shoulder and it hurt so bad. It was like pain shooting through my shoulder. But I was the type of gymnast to where like because I was really clumsy and like I would always get like hurt, but it was never like anything serious. But on top of that, I didn't like to cry. And so like whenever I would get hurt, like I would always take pain take it like a champ or whatever. And like I would just be like stone faced and trying to focus on not crying. My coach was like, "Do you want to do another one?" I said, "No." And he was like, "Well, you know," I was like, "My shoulder." And he was like, "Well, you know, I just think you should do another one because like that was a pretty hard hit and I don't want you to come in tomorrow and be afraid to do it." Because like that is a thing. Whenever you have a traumatic experience, sometimes that can cause like mental blocks, especially if you don't go and do the skill again right away to kind of rid your mind of that traumatic experience and to let yourself know that you are capable of doing it and completing it safely. So I was like, "Yeah, but like my shoulder really hurts. Like I don't think I can do another one." And he was like, "Okay, well, what time is it?" And literally, guys, I kid you not, 5 minutes before I needed to leave to get to this meeting. And my boyfriend was also being hired at the church. And since I didn't have a car, actually I did have a car, I'm lying. I was sharing a car with my sister at the time, but since we had to go to the same place, he was just gonna drive me there. Thank God he was there. But yeah, so I was looking around because typically he comes in. And so I was looking around and I didn't see him anywhere. And he was like, okay, well, just go take a seat, like take a breath for a second. And so I go and I sit on one of the really big mats that's like not right behind the vault table, but like right off to the side of the vault table. And I look down and like my knees, like both of them are skint up so bad because like the vault runway is made out of carpet. And when I like dove, rolled, skidded, slided, I don't know. When I did that, like I skint my knees on the way down. So my knees were all skint up, and one of my other coaches comes over because he was working with some other girls, and he came over, he was like, are you okay? And I was like, I think I'm okay. Like I just like collided with the metal under the vault and my shoulder really hurts, but other than that, I think I'm good. And he was like, oh, that was you that made that loud bang? And I was like, yeah, that was me. And he was like, my gosh, whatever. So as I'm sitting there talking to him, I notice that my foot is starting to like my left foot is completely starting to stiffen up. And by the time he's done like talking to me, he asked me if I want ice or anything. And I think I say yes, but I don't really remember. Or I say no because I'm like, nah, I'm about to leave soon, whatever. I don't remember though. But I just noticed that my foot starts to really, really stiffen up. And it gets to a point where I'm, no kidding, like not even sitting there for 5 minutes. And like I can no longer move my foot. So at this point, I can no longer move my foot and I can no longer move my shoulder. And so I'm like, what is going on? So it's time for me to go because I need to go to this meeting. And like in my brain, I'm like, okay, I'm hurt really bad right now, but I still need to get to this meeting because Sis is trying to get to her bag and that's on period. So I try to get up and I try to like step and like I immediately fall to the floor. It's so dramatic. I'm just like, oh no. And I fall to the floor. And so I'm like, crap. Like, how am I gonna get my stuff? Was all the way across like the gym, and I had to put my clothes back on because remind you, this is gymnastics. I was wearing a leotard and some Nike Pros, and so I had to get myself dressed again. I had to get some water onto my scrapes on my knees, and all of my stuff is on the other side of the gym. So, and I don't want to alarm anyone either. So I was like, I'm gonna do all this on my own because I don't want to alarm anyone or whatever. And plus, like, if you like hit your head doing anything, that sort of thing, hit your neck, like the coach has to, like the coach who witnessed the injury has to do like this incident report, and then the firefighters have to come. And I was like, I have a meeting. So I was trying to go. And so I fall down to the floor and I'm like, dang, how am I gonna get my stuff? And so I start to try to crawl. But since my shoulder, like I can't move that either. If I put any pressure on my hand, my shoulder hurts. Put any pressure on the foot, my foot hurts. So now I'm on the floor trying to crawl with only the right side of my body. Pitiful. Just pitiful. Just pitiful. And one of my teammates is like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I just hurt my foot, but I'm okay. And they're like, well, do you want any help? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like me literally out here talking about some, no, I don't want any help. And I'm trying to crawl with the whole left side of my body broken, out of commission. You're done. You're done. You're out of here. I crawl over there and I started to try to put on like my clothes, but I had these scrapes on my knees and they burn. So I like get up and I'm like hopping. I hop on my right foot to the bathroom and I run some water on some napkins and I press it against my carpet burns, my scrapes, and then I hop back and then I try to dress myself. And then I grab my stuff. Luckily I left most of my stuff in my in the car. So I only have to like get dressed and get like my wallet and my phone and stuff. So now I'm like hopping out of the gym, or like I'm trying to limp. I'm trying to seem as normal as possible so no one will ask me any questions. And so I'm like hobbling out, and this is when I start to like get teary-eyed because I'm literally trying to walk out of this place when like I've broken the whole left side of my body and I'm trying to walk out of this place like a G. It was not working. I was failing miserably. And my other teammate sees me and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, that's when I start to break. I'm like, "I think I broke my foot." And she's like, "Well, are you serious?" And I said, I can't say anything. I'm just like, and she was like, "Do you want any help?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." So then I walk out the back door, limp out the back door. I was not walking. I was hobbling. That's what I was doing. And I see my boyfriend come out the side door and he's like walking towards me. He has no idea what's going on. But like as he's walking towards me and I'm just like, and I just start bawling and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, I'm sobbing and I'm like, "I think I broke my foot." And he's like, "What? Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know." And he's like, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I fell." And he's like, I'm like, "I crashed into the vault." And he's like, "Okay." And so he picks me up and he carries me to the car and he's like, "You need to call your mom." And so I'm like, "Okay." Like I dry up my tears or whatever and I call my mom and I'm like, "You know, like I think I broke my foot." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I crashed into the vault." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I crashed into the vault and I think I broke my foot." And she's like, "Well," and I'm like, "Well," and she's like, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm sitting outside of the gym." And she's like, "Well, are you about to come home?" I said, "No, I got a meeting at the church." And she's like, "Okay." And I said, "But I'll come home after that." And she's like, "Okay." And so we go to the meeting at the church. I like have my foot propped up the entire time. Bless those church people because I was so ghetto. It was so ghetto. It was so ghetto, but bless them because they weren't out here judging me. They were like, "We hope you feel better," you know? And so I got the job, but yeah, it was ghetto. And so after that, Kai drives me home and he carries me inside of my house. And my mom I haven't seen my foot since I hurt it. And it's been in my shoe this whole time. So my mom, I sit on my mom's bed and I take my shoe and my sock off and my foot is twice the size. And it's purple and green and black and blue and all the colors. And mind you, I still can't move my shoulder. So she's like, "Now we gonna have to go to the emergency room." And I'm like, "Sorry." And so I have really, really young sisters. At the time, I was 16. It was my junior year of high school. And my sisters, I think at the time, were 6 and 3 or something like that. My mom couldn't just leave them at home with my brother, who was only 13 at the time, you know? And so she was like, "Dang, I'm gonna have to call my grandmother to come over here to watch them, so we can't leave until she gets here." And I kid you not, guys, it was taking her forever to get to my house. I love Nanny to death, but it was taking her forever to get to my house, and I just needed, at this point, all of the adrenaline had worn off. Everything had worn off, and the only thing I could do was lay in the bed with my foot up, because if I even put my foot down for a second, if any of the blood started to rush back to my foot, it was over for me, excruciating pain. And then on top of that, whenever I had to go to the bathroom, I couldn't hop, because at this point, just hopping would move my foot and that hurt too bad. So I was going through it. And so my mom was helping. Once my grandparents got there, or I think she left, my sister was back by that time and my sister was 18. So my mom was like, "All right, I'll leave them with her." And my grandparents were on the way at that point. So my mom was like, "Yeah, it's late. It's almost midnight. We need to go right now." So we left and we went to the ER and they took an x-ray, and I didn't break anything, but I had really, really bad sprains in both my rotator cuff and in my, I think metatarsal bone joint thing. It's the bone that connects or the joint that connects your big toe to your foot. And so at the hospital, they gave me a sling for my shoulder, and they were trying to give me crutches. I said, excuse me, how am I about to use these crutches? My arm is out of commission. I can't even use my left arm. How am I supposed to use the crutches? And they were like, oh, well, you're just gonna have to, I don't know, like, and they were trying to show me all this ridiculous, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And they're like, well, you're just gonna have to put pressure on your foot. Like, it's not broken, so walk on it. And I'm like, dude, like, it's not, no, the x-ray did not show that it was broken, but it was pretty dang close to being broken. Like, my foot was literally twice the size that it normally was, and it was black and blue and green and purple. It may have not had a break in it, but sister, it was probably as close to being broken as you could get. And they were like, just walk on it. And I'm like, and they were like, take Tylenol. And I was like, excuse me? And so I was trying to, with my crutches, with my shoulder, my left shoulder all out of commission. And then I have my right arm with the crutches. And then I also have a crutch underneath my left armpit. So I'm taking like my left arm and kind of trying to the crutch and the crutch, and like, it's this dumbest thing ever. And so like, I can't go to school, obviously. And so my mom is like, yeah, I don't know why they weren't trying to give you more accommodations. And so we called my orthopedic, and we got me an appointment like the next couple days. And like, I was bedridden for like until I got to go see the orthopedic doctor. I was bedridden. I couldn't go anywhere because I couldn't physically use the crutches, and I couldn't physically walk. So I was in the bed. My grandmother stayed home with me while my mom went to work, and she brought me all of my meals. And then when my boyfriend got out of school, he would come and visit and make sure I was okay. And I was literally in the bed. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't even think straight because it hurt so bad. And so I finally went to the orthopedic, and I was in there. It was ghetto, guys. It was so ghetto because I was in there trying to hobble and hop with two crutches, a broken shoulder, and a broken foot. Ghetto. Just ghetto. And my orthopedic was like, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, this is what they told me to do at the ER, and this is the only way that I'm gonna be able to get around. And he was like, well, he took more x-rays, and he was like, yeah, I don't see any breaks, but I can see where the ligaments have like snapped. He's like, I can see where the ligaments have snapped, and it's not really safe for you to be trying to crutch around like that, so we're gonna cast it. And literally, I've never had like a cast or anything. I've always had air casts because when I was younger and in gymnastics, I always had an issue with my ankles, and my ankles were really weak, and I was really clumsy, and I was always spraining them and stuff. So I had air casts before, like removable boots, but I'd never gotten like an actual hard cast before. And he was like, yeah, we're gonna cast it. And I was like, and my mom laughed at me. My mom laughed at me, and I was like, well, okay. And he's like, because it's really not safe for you to be crutching around like that. And so if we put a cast on it, you'll probably be able to walk on it for most of the day. And yeah, it's just more stable, so you can actually get around without possibly falling and hurting yourself by trying to crutch. And I was like, all right. So I got a cast and a little shoe for my cast. And I had a cast for, I think, 4 weeks. And then after the cast, I got my cast taken off, and I had to be in like a shoe for 8 more weeks. And so I was out of gymnastics for like 6 months. I ended up going back in the summer because I really missed gymnastics and stuff, but I was out for the rest of the season, which is very, very sad. Very, very sad. But honestly, I asked for it. I asked God for a sign, and he was like, kablamo, kablamo. Whatever. So yeah, that is the end of this story. I will try to include as many like footage stuff that I have, like as much footage as I have and stuff, so you guys can see. I didn't really take many pictures because it was really embarrassing, and I was hurt pretty much. Like, I was in a lot of pain for a majority of the time, especially between the time that it happened and by the time I could get to my doctor. But yeah, that's it for this story. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're interested in seeing any of my gymnastics, then comment down below and I can maybe post a few videos on here or something like that. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell down below as well so you never miss another one of my videos. I try to post every Tuesday and Thursday, and I post natural hair commentary and lifestyle videos, period. And if you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, you can follow me on all of my social media. I will have everything linked down below as well as on the screen right here. And yep, that was my shoulder cracking. And that is it for this video. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.